So today we're going to talk about something called ZYRO HIVE. It's a protocol, and it's designed to solve a huge, and honestly mostly invisible problem that sits right at the heart of our biggest infrastructure projects. The solution it proposes is, well, it's pretty radical, but it's also incredibly simple. Let's dive in.
All right, let me just start with a big question, one that frames this whole thing. What if we could actually fund the regeneration of our communities? You know, our water systems, our power grids, our local economies, without raising a single extra dollar in taxes or finding new investors. Sounds like a pipe dream, right? But the people behind this protocol believe it's not just possible, it's absolutely necessary.
And here's why. According to them, the money's already there. We're talking billions, even trillions of dollars already permitted, already allocated, already sitting on the books. So the problem isn't that we don't have the resources. The problem is that all those resources are trapped. They're stuck in their own little silos.
And that right there brings us to the core problem ZYRO HIVE was designed to fix. And it all comes down to one word: fragmentation. Okay, just picture this for a second. You could have a massive new data center, a critical power line, and a huge factory, all being built in the same area. They're all drawing power from the same grid. They're all using water from the same watershed. They're all hiring from the same community. But here's the kicker. Each one is run by completely separate groups with totally separate budgets and their own separate rulebooks. They exist in the exact same physical place, but financially, they might as well be on different planets.
This quote just nails the absurdity of it all. You've got these massive operations in the same place at the same time using the same resources, but their accounting, their obligations, their goals, they never ever speak to each other. There's no one whose job it is to see the whole picture.
So what is the actual, real-world cost of this disconnect? The source material calls it a hidden tax, and, well, the number is just unbelievable.
Get this, $7 trillion every single year. That is the estimated cost of all this fragmentation. And let's be crystal clear, this isn't a tax that goes to any government. Nope, it's a tax we all pay to sheer inefficiency. It's value that just vanishes into thin air, lost between the cracks.
And that $7 trillion is what the protocol calls trapped capital. Now, this is the most important thing to get. This isn't some made-up theoretical number. This is actual cash that's already sitting in budgets for things like grid maintenance, water permits, and environmental compliance. It's just stranded, unable to be coordinated for the good of the whole community.
Now, normally, when someone spots this kind of inefficiency, the first question is, how do I get a piece of that? How can I capture that value for myself? You know, build a platform, become the middleman. But ZYRO HIVE flips that whole idea on its head. It doesn't ask how to capture the value. It asks, how do we complete the circuit so that value is never lost to begin with?
And this brings us right to the solution itself. And it's not a company. It's not a new government agency. It is a protocol, a completely new geometry for how we can coordinate with each other.
So what is ZYRO HIVE really? At its core, it's just a set of rules. Think about it like the internet. The internet protocol, TCP/IP, doesn't own Google or any other website. It just provides the shared common rules that allow all of them to connect and talk to each other. ZYRO HIVE is designed to do the exact same thing, but for organizations that share a physical place.
You know, sometimes the easiest way to understand something is by defining what it isn't. And ZYRO HIVE has no shareholders, it has no CEO, it is not another layer of bureaucracy or red tape, and crucially, it's not a platform that's trying to skim value off the top of every transaction. The goal is for it to be a neutral, public utility that can't be captured. Okay, so this all sounds great in theory, right? But how does it actually work in the real world? Well, the protocol lays out a pretty clear four-step process for closing that first circuit. First, you anchor. You start with what's already there, like a power company and its biggest customers. They already have contracts. Second, you map. They get together and create a shared map of their resources, what's called a scalar digital twin, which acts like a neutral witness that everyone can trust. Third, you formalize. This is where you give everyone involved, workers, suppliers, the community, a real seat at the table, giving the place itself a legal voice. And finally, you execute. You use that new legal standing to connect the dots, linking one company's compliance duty with another's stranded asset, and boom, you close the circuit. Now you're probably thinking, okay, but why would these huge, self-interested companies actually cooperate? It's a fair question, and the answer is basically game theory.
That money for compliance, it's a sunk cost. They have to spend it anyway, so it just becomes more logical, more rational to spend it together to get a much bigger return. The digital twin keeps everything fair, and suddenly, a company's reputation for being a good partner becomes a massive asset. In a system like this, not cooperating becomes the irrational choice.
Okay, let's get to the best part, the payoff. How all of this transforms these scattered individual costs into shared dividends for everyone.
This table really lays out the whole paradigm shift. The old way? Create a new authority. The ZYRO Hive way? Coordinate the ones that already exist. Instead of asking for new money, you recompose the trapped capital that's already there. And instead of every group learning the same hard lessons in their own little bubble, that wisdom gets shared across the entire network. So when a circuit closes, real value gets created. This is called the mathematical dividend. And this is so important. This new value isn't captured by ZYRO Hive. It's not taken by a middleman. It gets distributed contractually and verifiably to everyone who helped make it happen. The utility, the customers, the workers, even the place itself.
And you can see here, it's a win for everybody. For the utility company, what used to be a defensive cost is now a regenerative investment. For their big customers, a boring compliance obligation becomes actual equity in the health of their community. Workers and suppliers get a real voice, and every future project gets to build on the lessons learned, so they're not starting from scratch.
You know, when you really boil it all down, the most powerful idea here isn't about inventing something totally new. It's about revealing a hidden order that's been there all along. The relationships, the money, the obligations, the geometry is already there. The only thing we've been missing is a way to see it and a common set of rules to act on it. The protocol simply provides the lens. And that leaves us with one final provocative thought. Your coordinate, your place, it's waiting. Find it.